Hello, and thank you for joining us on News on the Heart from the New Frontiers Television. My name is Olajumoke Babalola. On the news this afternoon, Lagos State government introduces new plate number. Senate expresses concern over failure of federal agencies to submit budget proposal. And on to the news. The Lagos State government has said it has planned to introduce new number plates for commercial vehicles in the state. Prince Olanrewaju Elegushi, the acting commissioner for transportation, disclosed these at the 2017 ministerial briefing to mark Governor Akinwumi Ambade's 2 years in office. Elegushi said the new regime of commercial vehicle number plate would ensure clear indications of vehicles registered for commercial purposes. The commissioner said in state agencies like Motor Vehicle Administration Agency, Number Plate Production Agency, and Ministry of Transportation will fine-tune the operations and issuance. Elegushi noted that the development will bring a robust database for vehicles involved in commercial transportation to ensure passenger safety. He also said that the database would contain a body tag to be fixed to the body of the vehicles for effective monitoring and redistribution of routes for businesses. The Ijaw People's Development Initiative, IPDI Delta State, stirred a fresh controversy between the Ijaw and Bini ethnic groups when it declared that Ijaw people had settled in the present-day Edo State before the Bini. It claimed that the Ijaw currently proclaiming ownership of the Gele Bene community in the state came from Egypt after a short stay at Sudan and Ileifen. National President of the group, Austin Ozobo, in a statement challenged the Edo Forum of Patriots and Benin Solidarity Movement, both of which he said alleged that Benin owned Gele and Ijaw community with misleading information to prove their case with historical facts. The group asserted that their attention has been drawn to statements credited to Edo Forum of Patriots and Benin Solidarity Movement, where they alleged that Gele and Ijaw community belonged to the Benin, citing some distorted and contorted black market court judgments. It is imperative to state that Benin is laying false claim to Gele Bene community. And still news around the Niger Delta, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs has planned to terminate about 6 abandoned projects spread across the region with a view to enhancing the development of the region. It would be recalled that the minister, Pastor Guru Seni, had made this known in Abuja while receiving the report on the audit and review of the East-West Road, another project of the ministry. Hazeni said following the report from the Ministerial Technical Audit Committee on the contracts awarded between 2009 and 2015 in the Niger Delta, some projects had been proposed for termination. He listed the projects to include construction of Opu Utambano Junction, Orie Market, Lamara Igwe Bolka, 35 kilometers in Abia State, land reclamation and erosion control project at Ogudu Abia Phase 1, Abia State. Federal government also included others are Idoro Eastern Itam Water Supply and Scheme Nakwa Ibom. And on to national issues, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has said that Nigeria has not been able to make progress because successive governments failed to continue with good policies put in place by the predecessors. Also, former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, said that about 40% of Africa's non-land assets are held outside the continent, adding that Africans must repatriate such funds to form the fulcrum on which to build a large pool of international capital for the continent's infrastructure development needs. This came as acting President Yemi Osinbajo urged African Finance Cooperation (AFC) to do more in providing necessary leadership towards mobilizing private capital for infrastructure development in the country. They spoke in Abuja yesterday at a panel discussion on the 10 years of AFC operations at the Infrastructure Summit. Also speaking at the forum, Finance Minister Mrs. Kemi Adeosun said there was huge appetite globally to invest in Africa infrastructure. And now to the Senate. The Nigerian Senate has expressed concern over the failure of federal agencies to submit the 2017 budget proposal to the National Assembly in line with extant law for consideration and approval. Deputy Senate Leader Senator Bala Mbernahala, who drew the attention of his colleagues to the abnormality during plenary, said it was wrong for agencies to spend money that has not been appropriated by the legislature. The Senate President who condemned the practice where agencies of government spent money without statutory approval by the National Assembly ruled that the issue be debated and resolution taken by the Senate today. Earlier, Nahala told the Senate that he intended to bring the issue to the floor as a motion so that senators will understand the implications and the need to assist the government in the fight against corruption. Among the agencies which were supposed to submit their budget proposals for approval by the National Assembly but failed to do so include the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), Bureau of Public Enterprises (BPE), National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure (NASE), and Nigerian Airspace Management Agency (NAMA), amongst others. And on to health, following the recent outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, has called on the federal government to step up surveillance and strengthen response team across the borders and other national routes of entry into the country. In a statement jointly signed by the President, Dr. Mike Ogrima, and Secretary General, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, the NMA also called for vigilance on the part of the federal government. According to them, NMA is ready to partner with the Federal Ministry of Health to achieve another resounding success on the prevention and control of the fresh outbreak. They though further stated that the recent declaration of the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo was another major setback to the world. The devastation brought about by the last outbreak still remains fresh in our minds, the National Nigerian Medical Association stated. And still on health, in response to the renewed outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, the Nigerian government has activated a preparedness plan for setting up the Ebola Preparedness Working Group, EPWG, even as passengers with fever arriving from a country where Ebola has been detected have to be investigated. Disclosing this in a statement, Technical Assistant Communications of Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC, Dr. Lawal Bakari, said that the Ebola Preparedness Working Group was put together at an emergency meeting convened on Monday by NCDC to coordinate immediate risk assessment of the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo and coordinate the strengthening of prevention and preparedness for any potential introduction of the Ebola virus in Nigeria. The meeting, chaired by the Chief Executive Officer of NCDC, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu, with representatives from the Department of Public Health and Port Health Services of the Federal Ministry of Health, World Health Organization, WHO, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, U.S. Centers for Disease Control, the African Field Epidemiology Network, and the University of Maryland, Baltimore, is to guide the country's preparedness activities. Bakare observed that the coming weeks, the NCDC-led Ebola Preparedness Working Group will provide regular updates as necessary on the outbreak in the DRC and provide information on how to protect Nigerians and Nigeria from Ebola. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll be back with more news. Please stay with us. Sir? Thank you for staying with us at Still News on the Hour. And now on to more news still from within the health sector. The Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, has revealed that $3.2 million, an equivalent of 1.08 billion naira worth of HIV drugs expired in storage. Adewale said this while delivering a speech at the dissemination meeting of 2016 National Health Facility Survey in Abuja. He said clinical competence and knowledge of healthcare workers, availability of drugs and basic equipment, and management and supervision of healthcare facilities were essential to the improvement of the health sector. Speaking after the event, the minister said the incident would not repeat itself as mechanisms have been put in place to forestall such. Meanwhile, Adewale has said putting money in the health sector is not expenditure, but an investment that will yield dividends. And now on to court matters. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has rearranged a Lagos socialite, Fred Ajudua, before Justice Josephine Oyefeso of Anikeja High Court for allegedly defrauding a former Chief of Army Staff, retired Lieutenant Colonel Ishaya Bameyi, of $10.3 million. The defendants pleaded not guilty to a 28-count charge bordering on conspiracy to obtain money by false pretenses and obtaining money by false pretenses brought against him by the commission. Ajudua was arraigned before Justice Oyefeso in a ruling dismissed at his application dated January 6, challenging the jurisdiction of the court to try him. According to EFCC prosecutor Mr. S.A. Ate, the defendant committed the alleged conspiracy and fraud in 2004, alongside 5 alleged accomplices while he was in prison. Quackers said the alleged accomplices are Mrs. Oluronke Rosulu, Halumile Adedeji, also known as Ade Bendel, Mr. Kenneth, Mr. Jonathan, and Princess Amaburn William. Justice Oyefeso acceded to Norrison's request and granted bail to Ajudua on the subsisting bail conditions granted to him by the Court of Appeal. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has again arraigned the immediate past governor of Niger State, Babangida Aliyu, before a federal high court in Abuja on charges of money laundering. The anti-graft agency arraigned Aliyu alongside the 2015 governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party and the former Niger State Commissioner of Environment, Parks and Gardens, including Forest Resources, Omar Nasco. Both men pleaded not guilty to the 8 counts in which they were accused of conspiring and diverting over 1 billion naira ecological funds which the state was said to have received from the federal government in 2014. They allegedly paid the money into the account of a private company, D. Sabrin International Limited, through the Niger State Ministry of Environment. Shortly after the defendants took their pleas, the lawyer, Mr. Maman Usman, SAN, moved their bail application. EFCC's lawyer, Mr. Ben Ikani, did not propose the bail application, but urged the court to impose conditions that would make the defendant to attend the trial. And still on crime, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has rearranged the son of a former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Alhaji Babanga Tuko Mahmood, and the son of the late Ibadan multi-billionaire Chief Alawo Arishikola, whose son's name is Abdullahi, for conspiracy, obtaining money under false pretense, and altering. Also arraigned on 38 counts before a Lagos State High Court on Tuesday, where Ochonogo Alex and the companies of the defendant, Etena PLC, Al-Agza Energy Limited, and Star Inspection Services Nigeria Limited. The EFCC claimed that the defendants conspired among themselves and obtained a sum of 3,121,000,000 naira, 393,098 naira from the federal government, under the guise that the money was for the importation of premium motor spirit. The defendants pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to them. Counsel for the first and second defendant, Mr. Tayo Oyetibo SAN, as well as counsel for the third defendant, Mr. Aderemi Oguntoye, pleaded with the court to allow the defendants to maintain the bail terms granted earlier by Justice Lateef Lawal Akapo. The trial judge, Justice Hakeem Oshodi, granted their request. And on to religious matters, the Oyo Baptist Conference for the retreat for the month of May kicked off on Monday, May 15, 2017. with the theme Overcoming Pastoral Challenges in Ministry Through Christ Jesus. In his teaching, the Bible study leader, Reverend Dr. Gabriel Olanrewaju, described the pastoral ministry as a challenging venture, stating further that church ministers often face a great deal of ministerial stress that could lead to psychological distress. He added that the challenges often include those from the family as a result of expectations that exert pressure on the minister and members of the families. Reverend Olanrewaju further reiterated that ministers needed to be aware of and accept that challenging times are inevitable in life, but encouraged them to stand firm on the word of God, focus on God's power rather than on the size of the challenge, stay persistent in prayers, and trust in God's plan even when it does not make sense, as these are some of the ways they could overcome the challenges in ministry. We'll take a break. When we return, it will be business package. Please stay with us.
The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, asserted that the federal government of Nigeria could not address the country's huge infrastructure deficit with budgetary allocation alone in the next 10 years. Adeosun stated this in Abuja at the 10th African Finance Corporation Summit, which was organized to chart a way for infrastructure financing in Africa. Based on the 30-year roadmap for infrastructural development for the country, known as the Integrated Infrastructure Master Plan, Nigeria will need the sum of 398.1 trillion naira for infrastructure development over 3 decades. The plan is to serve as a key component of capital budget since 2014, with a target annual expenditure of 6.57 trillion naira, being 5.4% of the country's gross domestic product for the 5-year period of 2014 to 2019. On the foreign business, Chinese state media has criticized the United States for hindering efforts to stop the global cyber threat in the wake of the WannaCry ransomware attack that has infected more than 300,000 computers worldwide in recent days. Microsoft has said that the malware attack, which began on Friday and has been linked by some researchers to previous hits by a North Korean-run hacking operation, leveraged tool built by the NSA that leaked online in April. It comes as China prepares to enforce a wide-reaching cybersecurity law that the United States Business Group says will threaten the operation of a foreign firm in China with strict local data storage law and stringent surveillance requirements. China's cyber authority have repeatedly pushed for what they call a more equitable balance in the global cyber governance, criticizing the U.S. dominance. Hospitals, transport services, and government offices across Greece have been severely affected by the general strike over the new austerity measures. Industrial strike action began on Tuesday but has now been ramped up nationally by members of the big trade union. Ferry services stopped and buses and trains were limited. Flights were also being hit for several hours, and the members of parliament are set to vote on the controversial reforms on Thursday that will cut pensions and air tax break. The left-wing Syriza government needs to make further savings before the Eurozone finance minister agrees to hand over further loan cash as part of his latest bailout deal. Despite pouring rain, crowds of protesters joined a rally late in the morning in the square in the center of Athens Union. Segun Fumi Ojedokun reporting.
the foreign news. In Somalia, Somali police say 2 soldiers died today when a car bomb exploded as they were trying to defuse it in Somali's capital. A police officer, Major Noor Ahmed, stated that the men were dismantling part of the car when the device went off. No group immediately claimed responsibility, but Al-Shabaab militants have launched a string of attacks in Mogadishu and beyond in their bid to impose their brand of Islam. Somalia has been at war since 1991 when clan-based warlords overthrew dictator Sahar Barre and then turned on each other. And in the United States, President Donald Trump has asked former FBI Director James Comey to hand the agency's investigation into ties between former White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and Russia. A source who had sent a memo written by Comey made this disclosure. Comey wrote the memo after he met in the Oval Office with Trump the day after the Republican president fired Flynn on February 14 for misleading Vice President Mike Pence about the extent of his conversations last year with Russia Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. The explosive new development followed a week of tumult at the White House after Trump fired James Comey and then disclosed sensitive national security information about Islamic State with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. In Turkey, Turkish lawmakers have elected 7 members to a reshaped judicial authority, pushing through a second of the recently approved constitutional changes that sharply increase President Tayyip Erdogan's powers. Most appointments to the Judicial Council were previously decided by members of the judiciary, but last month's close-run referendum passed that power to parliamentarians, a move which critics say would politicize the judiciary. The government says it will strengthen democratic legitimacy. Turkey's 2 largest opposition parties said they boycotted the overnight votes in parliament, arguing that the referendum was illegitimate and should be annulled. Erdogan says the concentration of power in the presidency is needed to avoid instability. Meanwhile, opponents accuse him of undermining judicial independence and leading a drive towards a one-man rule in Turkey, a NATO member whose stability is vital to the United States and European Union. And on to China, where Chinese state media have criticized the United States for hindering efforts to stop global cyber threats in the wake of the WannaCry ransomware attack that has infected more than 300,000 computers worldwide in recent days. The state media stated that the U.S. National Security Agency should shoulder some blame for the attack, which targets vulnerabilities in Microsoft cooperation systems and has affected some 30,000 Chinese organizations as of Saturday. They said concerted efforts to tackle cyber crimes have been hindered by the actions of the United States, adding that Washington had no credible evidence to support bans on Chinese technology firms in the United States following the attack. Meanwhile, Microsoft says the malware attack, which began on Friday and has been linked by some researchers to previous hits by North Korean-run hacking operations, leveraged a tool built by the National Security Agency that leaked online in April. It comes as China prepares to enforce a wide-reaching cybersecurity law. The U.S. business groups say it will threaten the operations of foreign firms in China with strict local data storage laws and stringent surveillance requirements. Olajumoke Babalola reporting for New Frontiers Television. Up next is sport with Adebola Adeleke.
On sports, Manchester City claimed an emphatic win over West Brom to move back up to 3rd place in the Premier League with 1 game remaining.
And Gabriel Jesus checks he's onside. He is. Manchester City make the breakthrough. Now it's just starting to get a little awkward. Now they can turn on the style. Aguero, Jesus, De Bruyne. Another beautiful moment from Kevin De Bruyne. Lovely team build-up.
That minute is set up for him, but it's.
Toure has got him behind here, and Yaya Toure does it again against West Brom. He just loves playing against his club. It's his 5th goal in 5 appearances against them, and City are starting to crank up some serious numbers here.
That's another lovely little exchange. Johnny Evans goes out to the ball here. I'm not sure where Craig Dawson is. Johnny Evans.
West Brom managed a late consolation when substitute Al Robson Kanu turned in Alan Yom's low cross.
Steering wide for Nyom in towards Robson Kanu. One back for West Bromwich Albion. No clean sheet for City.
A point in the final game at Watford on Sunday will now be enough to guarantee Pep Guardiola's side a place in the top 4 and Champions League football, while a win would see them finish 3rd and go straight into the group stage. And to Arsenal ensured the race to finish in the Premier League's top 4 will go down to the final day of the season with a laboured win against relegated Sunderland.
Xhaka.
Ozil, it must be, it is! It's Alexis Sanchez! Arsenal find a way through! Alexis Sanchez gets the goal! Mustafi's cross. Oh, and hooked towards goal, then turned in, it's 2-0! Should be game over.
Arsene Wenger's men must beat 7th placed Everton and hope the Reds slip off against relegated Middlesbrough at Anfield. Adebola Adeleke reporting.
And the sports package completes the news on the hour this afternoon from New Frontiers Television. Thank you for watching and do enjoy the rest of our programs. My name is Olajumoke Babalola.
You deserve the glory, oh God. You deserve the praise. Worse and least to come, first and last, I found a way. Yeah, heavens declare your glory, your praise. Heaven and earth adore, angels bow before you. We declare your praise. So giddy, like giddy, oh, he's the mighty God. Hey, he's here. Raise the voice and say, so giddy, like giddy, oh, hey, we're the mighty God. We're the mighty God. We're the mighty God. You deserve the glory, You deserve the praise. The words and needs to come. First and last, Alpha and Omega. The heavens declare your glory, your praise. Heaven and earth adore you. Angels bow before you. We declare your praise. What is it? Lamb that was there, you died on the cross. Oh God, we hail, we worship, we love you. Oh God, He's the Lord that speaks, and the firmament tears open.
Dàbí ènìyàn